100 criminals and dozens of guns are off the streets of Sarasota thanks to an undercover operation targeting illegal sales of drugs and firearms. New tonight, ABC Action News reporter Wendy Lane explains why Operation Surge isn't over yet.
4 o'clock in the morning, thousands of agents simultaneously storming 22 American cities, handcuffing more than 5,000 suspects. Not just drug traffickers, but police chiefs, border inspectors, even federal officers. More than $200 million in fentanyl guns, cash seized in the largest strike in history against the Sinaloa Cartel and CJNG. But the real shock, the enemy is no longer outside the borders. It's already embedded right inside our protective system. Who is really protecting America? Don't miss it. The dark truth behind the fentanyl war is about to explode. Our message to the drug smugglers is to get out of our country immediately. Your time of freedom is over because President Trump is back in the White House. President Trump has been very clear and consistent. He is ready to use every element of American power to stop drugs from pouring into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. A powerful strike against one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in the world. 5,000 arrests, more than $200 million in fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, and weapons seized spanning from Chicago to 21 major cities. The largest federal strike against the Sinaloa Cartel and CJNG in modern history. But the real shock isn't the drugs. That's who's being handcuffed. Not just the smugglers, but county sheriffs, border inspectors, even federal officers. The very people who swore to protect America are helping poison it. If you want to see how deep the fight in Chicago really goes hit like right now, and stay with me, because the next part is what every American needs to hear. The Trump officials are not backing down. Law enforcement forces are doing their duty, and they will not stop doing their duty. At 4 o'clock in the morning, while the cities were still asleep, the convoys started moving. In Chicago and 21 other metropolitan areas, thousands of agents from DEA, FBI, and HSI deployed at once in a synchronized strike they call Operation Surge. This is the largest strike against organized crime in decades, aimed directly at the Sinaloa Cartel and CJNG. And within a few months, more than 5,000 suspects were arrested. Drug labs shut down, secret warehouses dismantled, cash collection points raided, encrypted financial centers seized. Chicago, America's logistics crossroads, had become the main artery for fentanyl and meth flooding the entire country. All the drugs came through here, stockpiled, then shipped across America. And then the money came back stockpiled and sent south. But as the arrests mounted, something colder emerged. Because some of those handcuffed weren't cartel soldiers. They were county sheriffs, border inspectors, federal officers, people who swore to protect the country. They had sold out their duty. And in that moment, the war changed. The threat was no longer outside. It was inside. Just look at how many people still trust. The fentanyl crisis is ravaging communities and destroying lives from the East Coast to the West Coast. Over the past few weeks, we've investigated why overdose deaths are rising and the root cause of this nationwide problem. Tonight, we examine exactly how fentanyl is infiltrating communities. Sinaloa and CJNG are no longer street gangs. They're multinational corporations with supply chains, accountants, chemists, logistics, and armed forces like private police. The product isn't just contraband, it's industrial poisoning. Center of the empire, Chicago. Big loads from rail highways, airports broken down and fanned out to Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, the entire East Coast. The cargo is fentanyl, 2 milligrams, enough to stop a heart. Devastating toll, more than 100,000 deaths per year, 70% from fentanyl. Morgues in Ohio are out of space. Schools in Indiana and Pennsylvania keep Narcan next to fire extinguishers. The supply chain has become industrialized and anonymous. Chemicals from China and India labeled as industrial solvents arrive at super labs in Mexico. One lab can produce millions of lethal doses in 1 week. The finished product is smuggled north, hidden in produce trucks, cargo containers, and increasingly among migrant flows. But power doesn't stop at production. It lies in finance. Cash collected in Chicago and Miami is moved through shell companies. It flows into overseas cryptocurrency exchanges, gets laundered, then returns as legitimate investments, real estate truck fleets, nightclubs, car dealerships, political donations. This is no longer mere crime. This is an economy, an underground economy built on the deaths of Americans. Pause for 1 second. If you believe this cannot go on, share this video. Someone out there needs to wake up. The intelligence picture took months to assemble, and the logistics analysis ran quietly, relentlessly at DEA headquarters. Piece by piece, the truth emerged. The cartels were operating the same infrastructure in more than 20 American cities, the same warehouses, the same shell companies, the same pattern of smuggling cash, money, guns, and fentanyl pills circulating like parts in a machine. By the end of 2025, the data was no longer suspicion. It was a blueprint, and federal agents were preparing for something America had never tried before: a synchronized nationwide takedown. They called it Operation Surge. Phase 1 began at 4 o'clock in the morning on October 15th. Helicopters sliced through the quiet air in the suburbs of Phoenix, Arizona. The first garage door was blown open. Flashbangs exploded. Black-clad teams stormed homes that doubled as pill mills, pressing millions of fake oxycodone tablets, each laced with enough fentanyl to kill. In 1 week, 2,500 Sinaloa-linked suspects were arrested. Agents seized $85 million pill presses, encrypted ledgers, and barrels of industrial-grade precursor chemicals. But the fight was only half over. So the question remains, who will protect the public when the protectors join the enemy? If you believe the badge should stand for honor, comment honor below. Phase 2 unfolded 3 weeks later, targeting CJNG, the cartel, notorious for expanding through violence and terror. This time, the battlefield expanded. At the port of Long Beach, cargo cranes stood frozen as federal teams swarmed container ships labeled industrial cleaning supplies. Behind fake steel walls lay thousands of kilograms of precursors, the lifeblood fueling fentanyl production. In Miami, agents raided waterfront properties tied to the underground real estate network: homes, condos, shopping centers, bought not with cash but through looping crypto money laundering that quietly funneled blood money back into the American economy. In Houston, a convoy of tractor trailers was stopped on Interstate 10. Beneath lettuce and onions lay hundreds of military-grade ARs, 50 cals conversion kits destined for cartel forces. This was no longer drug trafficking, it was a war supply chain. Surge's scale exploded across 22 divisions. Boston nabbed 85 CJNG Kansas City, 41 distributors. The New Jersey-Maryland pipeline collapsed in a single night. No place to hide. Results: 5,000 arrests, $200 million in drugs, weapons, and assets, seized dozens of command nodes, dismantled multiple supply lines, severed. Beneath the celebration lay silence. The next battle would not be on the streets. The war now lay within the system, not just against the cartels, but against the corruption shielding them. Type war if you want America to treat cartels as the enemy. While Operation Surge dominated headlines with handcuffs battering Rams and seized drugs, a silent battle unfolded bank ledgers, wire transfers, shell companies, offshore exchanges. No gunfire, just numbers and influence. The true power of Sinaloa CJNG wasn't in soldiers or guns, but in their ability to buy silence, loyalty, and infiltration of the very agencies created to destroy them. The underground financial network exposed how crime undermines American justice from within. The money trail was surgical in its precision. Cash from Chicago-Houston routed through Miami shell companies disguised as consulting fees. Freight invoices, janitorial contracts, then funneled into offshore crypto exchanges laundered clean through digital anonymity. Clean capital re-entered America as legitimate investments flowing into local real estate, high-value assets, and most critically, political machines and law enforcement itself. Bribery, now sophisticated fat city contracts, campaign donations, property deals. Federal prosecutors uncovered the same accounts that funded guns for cartels also paid. Contractors, counsel donors, police, union suppliers. For the FBI, this was the breaking point. Corruption had burrowed deep, systemic, deliberate. In El Paso, a customs officer waved through drug and migrant-laden trucks for years. In Arizona, a supervisor buried warnings to shield a cartel donor. Not random, this was infrastructure rooted in institutional fatigue. Following urgent directives to safeguard the border, the Department of Homeland Security recruited thousands of new agents in under 1 year. Background checks were expedited. Provisional clearances became the norm. Local departments swamped by drug violence accepted federal funding with minimal oversight. More personnel, more money, more pressure, less accountability. Since 2024, the data has revealed a terrifying trajectory. Dozens of officers from county sheriffs to high-ranking border agents have been indicted on cartel ties. The cartels have evolved. They stopped bribing individuals. They started cultivating the bureaucracy itself. For the DEA and the Pentagon, the question has changed. The scale of the threat, amplified by evidence of internal corruption, demands an unprecedented policy shift. Recognizing that the cartels are no longer mere criminal gangs but sophisticated terrorist organizations, the administration issued an executive order officially classifying the Sinaloa Cartel and CJNG as foreign terrorist organizations. This single declaration changed everything behind the scenes. Immediately after the order was signed, the Pentagon gained expanded authorities to operate alongside the DEA and Homeland Security. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth called this a whole-of-government counterterrorism campaign. Their message to the cartels is clear and uncompromising. If the cartels operate like insurgents, we will treat you accordingly. We will find you. We will map your networks. We will hunt you down and destroy you. This enables U.S. Northern Command to provide intelligence, surveillance, and even limited operational support to law enforcement special forces for the first time. Drug enforcement ceases to be policing. It becomes a war plan. The objective shifts from merely disrupting or arresting individuals to defeating and destroying these organizations to protect the homeland. This new posture enables synchronized nationwide strikes across 22 divisions and 7 overseas regions, the very operation we have described as Operation Surge. The war on cartels has become official counterterrorism policy, with a global target list expanding at breakneck speed. Though Operation Surge achieved 5,000 pinpoint arrests, the challenge remains profound. Victory exposed severe institutional fatigue systems overloaded by rapid expansion, ripe for bureaucratic exploitation. More than 150 Americans die daily from fentanyl, a cheap, easy-to-produce product with endless supply. The silent financial war rages on. Cartels swiftly recapitalize through cryptocurrency and shadow banking. The greatest threat, internal corruption. After 5,000 arrests and dozens of law enforcement officers indicted for serious crimes, faith in the badge has been gravely damaged. The final question hanging over Washington's celebratory statements is this: what happens when the true battlefield lies inside the very agencies sworn to protect the nation? When the line between justice and survival vanishes and the system begins to fracture from within, who will hold the shield? Operation Surge is now a necessary and historic offensive, but it is only the beginning of a protracted, dangerous, and increasingly complex war. Operation Surge is not just a coordinated law enforcement action. It is a reminder that when the safety of the American people is threatened, this nation does not hesitate. It does not retreat. It does not yield to fear. For decades, the cartels believed they could operate in the shadows, poisoning communities, corrupting institutions, turning neighborhoods into battlegrounds, and treating American lives as expendable. They built networks of money violence, deception, and power. And for a time, the world believed they could not be stopped. From Operation Surge, the greatest lesson for every American is evil needs no weapons or borders to win it, only needs indifference. When 5,000 arrests exposed police officers, inspectors, and federal agents selling out their badges, we realized the shield protecting the nation can crack from within if not closely monitored. More than 150 lives lost each day to fentanyl remind us that silence is complicity. Stay vigilant. Demand accountability. Watch the system, because security lies not only at the borders, but in the vigilance of every single citizen. Operation Surge represents a significant effort by the U.S. government in the fight against drug cartels, resulting in over 5,000 arrests, the seizure of $200 million in drugs and weapons, and the exposure of internal corruption within some law enforcement agencies. The operation underscores that threats come not only from the borders, but also from indifference and lack of oversight within. Despite these achievements, the challenge remains immense, as more than 150 Americans lose their lives daily to fentanyl. It serves as a reminder of the need for ongoing vigilance, transparent accountability, and community unity to sustainably protect national security. Operation Surge shook the cartels, arrested 5,000 criminals, seized $200 million in drugs and guns, but the real war is just beginning right inside our own ranks. More than 150 Americans still die every day from fentanyl, and faith in the badge is crumbling. What do you think? Should America keep treating cartels like terrorist enemies? Or stop? Comment below right now. Keep fighting if you want stronger borders and a cleaner system, or stop if you think it's enough. Your comment will decide the next video.